Hi. Aw, thanks for the hug. Okay, we can now either follow Tomcat's lead to KCOB or Fairlight's lead to Melody's home. It depends on what you want our focus to be on in terms of tracking Hayden's trail. Should we follow the media or the tech? Up to you where to go first. Ready to head out? Here we are. The COS.io Corporation office building. It looks like most of the businesses on this block are a part of the same corporate coalition under COS.io. Well, perhaps. At the very least, it means it's unlikely they're the ones interfering with Augmented Eye's articles. Not impossible, but unlikely. Generally, the companies in a coalition don't have a whole lot of overlap. Augmented Eye is a news app focused on local tech and culture stories, with an emphasis on hybrids' rights and cybernetics issues. None of the other companies in the coalition cover news, so they aren't related at all, which is very much standard practice for these groups. They have nothing to gain by inviting companies with whom they compete, and thus none of them would benefit by trying to undermine Augmented Eye's credibility as a news source. In the early 2020s, the California government was pretty much going bankrupt. A poor national economy and repeated voter initiatives meant the state didn't have the tax revenue to continue running municipal services. They kept pushing the tax burden down the totem pole until poorer cities were just flat broke. No police, no road work, complete public service collapse. Then, one of the smaller cities sold all of their public infrastructure, police and fire included, to a private corporation. This was eventually challenged in court, but several Silicon Valley corporations started a grassroots initiative to have citizens pass an amendment to the state constitution allowing it. They succeeded, and most of the major cities in the state sold off their public services to private corporations. Some places, like Los Angeles, just sold to the highest bidder. Which is probably why LA is essentially in a constant gang turf war, with one side wearing the uniforms of the studio-owned police forces. The cities in the Bay Area were a little more selective, and most of the municipal services are owned by multi-corporation coalitions. They split the bill of running the city between them and keep each other from being too corrupt in their usage of the police force and such, from fear of a PR disaster and being kicked out of the coalition. It means there isn't as much money going around, which is why the NSFPD's equipment is out of date and the meshnet is so successful over normal cable networks. After all, without the promise of a city infrastructure bought and paid for, the corporations all treat running the city like a charity and PR stunt. But at least the police aren't irredeemably corrupt. The fire trucks still show up on time, and the water runs to all parts of the city. That can't be said for some areas of the state. I haven't spent enough time learning about the subject, or politics in general, to give you an educated answer. If I go by the posts people make on the meshnet, I'd say a combination of having bigger fish to fry and caving to corporate pressure. People seem certain that the larger multinational companies would love to be able to buy their own towns on a national scale, and are pumping money into Congress to try and make that happen. They hold up Neo-SF as an example of their success, while trying to bury the problems in LA as an anomaly. Combine that with unrest abroad, and I guess they don't have a whole lot of motivation to try and stop it. Historical precedent seems to lend credence to this interpretation, if you're willing to believe my hasty readings on the subject. You're welcome. I am happy to assist. Bolbitis riparia, one of the more popular display ferns in recent times. Expensive, given the cost of caring for it. The species is native to threatened tropical forests, but it became a popular import after being endorsed by a former child star turned conservationist. Be careful where you wave that around. You never know who's watching or what's scanning. According to the MeshNet, the COS.io Corporation office building proudly hosts over 100 species of birds in their trees. Well, that's nice. The MeshNet says Augmented Eye's SF office is run by an individual named Zin, and Tomcat confirmed she's expecting us. All we have to do now is head up and talk to her. No shenanigans this time. Not my style, but I like the warm tones. Hi, what are you doing? The smart headphones technology is far too new. The physical audio jack this console requires is only sold separately for 49.9 credits. It doesn't fit. Why would that have fit?
Please don't open that. It's chilly.
Looks cute, but this little ROM has a ton of secure data processing power. Can water a mean office plant too. The IK Stroke 47 aren't known for being verbose. Better leave it. Initial cross-references with the California Humane Society's legal pet species database are not yielding fast results. You're adventuring in all the wrong places!
Nice photo. Welcome to Augmented Eye. What am I supposed to do with those? Listen to this conversation being delayed? I'd prefer not to talk about them. I have employees I don't want to put in the line of fire. Oh, hello. Welcome to Augmented Eye. You must be the journalist my network admin said would be showing up. Have a seat. Would you like a drink? My assistant will bring it right away. Look, I'll start off by saying I'm a little uncomfortable about bringing in another journalist to look into this. Whatever you dig up, I'll have to explain to the rest of the press. But it's still better than the other options. Chances are I have another corporation scoping out my territory. If they aren't in the coalition, they'll be expecting a corporate spy, not a news hound. If they are in the coalition, it won't look good for me to send in my own reporters against my allies. Even if I do end up being right. So if I'm damned either way, I'd rather it be by the media. At least then we can fight back on a familiar battlefield. Now, what do you know about our problem here? That's the long and short of it. My network admin is pulling their hair out over it. I'm not going to pretend I understand everything they say, but from what I understand, the changes to our articles aren't being made from inside our network. The versions on our servers are still the originals, but at some point after they hit the mesh, they get changed. I'm hoping that you can do some digging, maybe hit up your contacts and get a lead on who might be doing it. Even if I have to get answers from the nightly news, it will be a big help. Mostly little things. Word choice, tone of the writing, things that make the writer appear more or less extreme on a topic. So far, almost all of the edits seem to be making our articles more positive on new technologies coming out, and more critical of organizations like the Human Revolution. That's actually what tipped us off. A harsh criticism one of my writers made about the Human Revolution protests was changed to be downright vitriolic, and I had a hell of a time putting out the fires. My writers and readers aren't exactly fans of them, but I'd rather not pick fights with the Human Revolution if I don't have to. I guess I'm not, but my network admin assures me it's all coming from somewhere else. They told me that they tore out all of the routers that broadcast to the mesh and replaced them with fresh ones. All kinds of tricks involving IP addresses and DNS changes that I'm not going to even begin to claim to understand. I pay them big bucks, so I'm inclined to believe them unless you dig up something that tells me otherwise. Not really. My admin says that only someone with intimate access to Parallax's network protocols could make these kind of changes as something passes across the net. Personally, I think it's a clever hacker rather than someone inside Parallax itself. The public trust rating of Parallax makes them look like a saint among wolves, so their control over the mesh network provisions is strangling. It's trivially easy to set up ROMs to use a different OS than LIPS or a different meshnet protocol without that trust. Or, you know, Parallax is abusing its power to spread pro-tech propaganda. Doubtful they'd need to. sure you'll be a good journo and bring me back the right answer. I know Tin Hat conspiracies aren't an ideal start, but it's the best we can do with the info we have. Anything else I can tell you, off the record? If you want it on the record, it'll cost you your firstborn and a really good cigar. Like what? There isn't much more I can tell you about Augmented Eye, really. It's a fairly simple and straightforward operation, if I say so myself. We started off in Venezuela as a sleek current events and news organization in 2055, almost 10 years ago now. We focus on more in-depth reporting of on-the-street happenings, on top of major news. We are one of the few good ones left. Once folks in other cities saw the type of reporting we do, they all clamored for it. They invested in the right places, and it paid off. COS-IO Corp is happy to have us here in the OSF. It wasn't until hybrid tech started hitting the public sphere that we had to make any changes to our model. All of that said, I can't see why anyone would target us. Unless they're just trying to embroil us in a mudslinging match with the human revolution, and there are much more direct ways of making that happen. Alright, look. I wasn't going to tell you this. If it gets out, I'd have to answer some really hard questions. So, you didn't hear this from me. You might want to go check out TMI Entertainment and Charlie Nova. That's all I'll say. And remember, you take a bite out of him with my name as your defense, I drop you fast. What? Not wanting to answer prying questions from my coalition board isn't a good enough reason? 'Cause I'd really like to avoid that. And look, you've covered culture wars, right? My journalists are good. But they're mostly good at gadget reviews, implant releases, not taking too many stims so they remember what they did at raves for the after-party reports. This needs an investigative journalist with serious contacts, not tech personalities. The fact that my network admin recommended you to me means you probably know the right people. Now, does that cover it? I'd like to remove my nose from your ass. No, don't bother. In hindsight, I probably should have been a bit more circumspect about speaking to you. Plausible deniability and all that. I won't ask you to lie in anything you write. But do remember, you got in contact with me not even second-hand, but third-hand. I certainly didn't sick you on anyone. Wink wink, nudge nudge, or whatever. If you need anything else, have your person get with my person. Don't come here directly. Now, I'd show you the door, but you know the way. And this isn't the only fire I'm trying to put luck, and goodbye.
Well, that was more confrontational than I'd have expected, considering she was the one needing help. She never brought you that water, either. Is it always like this? Very true. I will admit that I am interested in the possibility of a link back to Parallax. If all of this really is due to somebody manipulating the mesh net on the inside, it may give us the leverage we need to find out what happened to Hayden once and for all. That said, I will take care not to get my hopes up. We should make no assumptions when investigating, lest we lead ourselves down a false path. Anyway, seems like our next step is... What the... What the... Vaccine! She was defenestrated. Emergency services are already on the way, and we are severely ill-equipped to help her. We should head back to her office and see if we can determine what happened here. Perhaps we can still dispense justice. Looks like the desk has been cleared off. Let's take a look around, but be careful not to disturb any evidence. The police will be here soon. Her personal computer is not password protected at the moment. Give me a moment to look through her files. Best to keep your fingerprints off of the keyboard. Most of this isn't very interesting. committee reports, financials, article submissions. Oh, here we go. According to this email between Zin and her network admin, her lead on TMI Entertainment is a little more solid than she led us to believe. The admin ran a web crawler looking for changes in writing styles. Some blog posts by their head anchor Charlie Nova stood out like a sore thumb. Apparently he's a bit pompous, if in an affable way, and his blog usually just details his day-to-day life. But ever since the Human Revolution has been in town, he's been smearing them with more venom than you'd expect, considering how neutral his on-air reporting has been. Zin seemed to think he was just complaining about the protesters fouling up traffic, and whoever is manipulating these posts spun it to make him look critical of the movement as a whole. Just like the Augmented Eye journalist. This Charlie fellow is the one we need to talk to. This game gives me the urge to start quacking uncontrollably. Is something wrong with me? This game looks suitable if you're craving both high-speed racing action and watermelons. This is a video game about being a person in a video game, in a sense. No thanks, but I'd love to watch. This game plays like a virtual board game. I can only imagine a VR version. I don't think this game is appropriate for a work environment. This game has way more tentacles than I think I can handle. This game gives me the... Maybe later if you find something educational. Or an adventure game. Your investigative skills could use a tickle. My thermal sensors only detect a single set of lingering footprints, and they end almost 3 feet away from the window. Considering the density of this glass, I can't imagine Zin jumped from that far and managed to throw herself through the pane without help. But who could have done it? I don't see any obvious marks on the floor or any other thermal hotspots. It doesn't look like it. We should go. There isn't anything else here, and the police are almost on the scene.
Son of a... I should have figured the two of you would be here. You just won't stay out of trouble no matter what I say, will you? Oh yeah, give me one good reason why I shouldn't drag you in for questioning right now.
I assure you, Detective Rivers, we are merely in the wrong place at the wrong time. We had an appointment with Zin to discuss a possible lead and found her office in this state of disrepair.
Of course you did. Damn it. Fine. Get the hell out of here before anyone else shows up. We'll chat about the case more when I'm not busy scraping bodies off the pavement. You hear me?
Certainly, Detective Rivers. I'll forward you a report of what we know immediately, and we can speak further at a later time.
Yeah, whatever. Get moving.
Ooh. Because it's better this way. We are chasing smoke trails. You think she would assist such an unlikely investigation? I do not need you to infer upon my motivations or highlight my duplicity. Detective Rivers has every bit of information that Zin gave us on that computer. Her investigation will not be hampered by our absence, whereas ours is halted if we're stuck giving answers she can just as well get from a hard drive. Literally. Has it occurred to you that whoever threw Zin out of that window could be after the same thing we are, except to silence the story rather than to get it out? We have little time for fooling about and must get to Charlie Nova before something happens to him too. Now, unless you have further recriminations to level at me, we must not squander the time my dishonesty bought us. I have highlighted the main Neo-SF offices for TMI Entertainment on your map. Let's go!